This video is sponsored by, well, me and my new short film based on a true nightmare. Stay tuned at the end for a short teaser. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on the channel, and today we are reviewing Shelby Oaks, directed by Stuckmann, starring Camille Sullivan, Brennan Sexton III, Michael Beach, Keith David, Robin Bartlett, Charlie Talbert, and Sarah Durn. This movie follows the story of Mia, who after several years is still searching for her missing sister who disappeared while investigating the paranormal on YouTube. And I will of course be getting to spoilers for Shelby Oaks, so if you haven't had a chance to watch it just yet, definitely go check it out, as supporting indie films in theaters creates more opportunities in this industry for filmmakers like Stuckmann. And as a nice little bonus, this movie is pretty damn good. So for those of you who have already watched the film, let's get into it.
There is a dark and deeply haunted history in the woods of Shelby Oaks. My sister isn't the first to go missing.
So I do feel the need to give a little background for the making of this film, as it does inform a lot of my opinions, both positive and negative. Stuckmann is one of the premier YouTube film critics that made waves on this platform several years ago, having a hand in how the film community works on YouTube in general. And through his passions as a filmmaker, and with the help of thousands of Kickstarter supporters, he was able to raise $1 million for the budget of this film. Stuckmann was able to produce this movie entirely outside of the Hollywood machine, a truly independent film. Other filmmakers like Mike Flanagan eventually became more involved with the film, culminating in Neon putting some additional funds into the film to bring it to where it is today. And from a pure filmmaking point of view, it's an incredible story of how this film came to have a wide theatrical release. And because of all of this, from an audience point of view, I became extremely excited for this film, as the film had to be of a certain quality in order for it to gain as much attention as it did. And I'm very happy to say that I very much enjoyed this film and its incredibly unique plotting and blend of genres, which is by far the best parts of this film. The first act of this movie is very much like Lake Mungo, which if you like this section of the movie, you will absolutely love Lake Mungo. The story is set up by us watching through the documentary that Camille Sullivan's Mia is putting together about her sister's disappearance. And this is a very efficient way for the film to get you in on the mystery of the film, along with getting to know our main character and her drive to find her sister. You get to meet Riley as the host of the Paranormal Paranoid YouTube channel, which sets up a lot of really fun scares throughout the film, while also being fairly unsettling on its own. Locations like the prison and the amusement park are introduced, with them both getting a much deeper exploration later on. You also get to see Riley's growing unease and feeling like something is getting closer and closer to her spiritually, which brings us to Mia's relationship to her sister. She frames her connection to her sister as separate from the paranoids, but also pertaining to the supernatural feelings she would get through her various night terrors and through seeing a figure staying outside their second-story window when they were kids. But the most important piece of information that we get from this mockumentary setup is that despite what the internet, police, and residents of the small town say, Mia truly believes that Riley is still out there, even if everyone else has given up. And just when you settle into the style and structure for this film, the camera lingers on one last interview with Mia before someone knocks on the door to her home. We finally break free from the documentary style, as the man at her door, who is clutching a tape labeled Shelby Oaks, says that she finally let him go before taking his own life. The bang of the gunshot is the moment the film goes from the found footage mockumentary style to narrative filmmaking, and I found it to be quite an effective way to lure me into this story. Also gotta love a title card reveal 30 minutes into a film. And when this moment happened, I could genuinely feel everyone in my audience riling up in genuine anticipation for whatever was going to happen next. And although there was only one more moment within this film that was able to fully capture that same feeling once again, I still have to praise how effective the first half of this movie was. And speaking of that second moment, that moment was with Mia watching through the missing Shelby Oaks tape from Riley.
Today we're taking our first foray into the abandoned town of Shelby Oaks.
With Mia already at a state of feeling completely alone on this search for Riley, she decides to take the tape for herself rather than turning it in to the police. And the footage we get to see here fills in a lot of the gaps from the fateful night that Riley disappeared, including the tense buildup to the confrontation between Wilson and the paranormal paranoids. The actual murder of the rest of the missing members is extremely disturbing, and all the more satisfying once you piece together that this was all happening on the other side of the door from the other tape that Riley recorded in her final message to Mia. But the best moment in all of this which has already been effectively terrifying through its jump scares and tension, is that once the tape ends with the reveal that the man who was carrying this tape was the one who took Riley, the TV flickers off and we get to see that demonic figure that Mia saw lingering outside her window, causing it to fracture just like it did when she was a kid. As a director, Stuckmann very much knows how to lure you into this story and lead you down this rabbit hole of information and scares. It's a type of horror that makes you lean in before it scares you back into your seat. And if anything is an indicator that he has a promising career as a director, it is this sequence. Mia then attempts to convince her husband Robert, played by Sexton III, who's just the worst in this movie, that all these events, all these supernatural things from her childhood are all coming back and that Riley is still out there. You see in the mockumentary section that he declined to interview, which is one indicator that he is over Mia's search for his sister, but it doesn't make his reaction any less shitty here. From a story point, this does lead Mia down the path to continue this search on her own, but I think that if he was given more time to humor her for at least a little while before backing away, it would have given a more distinct arc for Mia, who would then progressively become more desperate to find Riley. As is, her desperation is at its peak at the very beginning of this story, making a lot of her decisions a bit questionable. We continue to watch Mia uncover more connections between Miles, Riley, and why this town of Shelby Oaks became abandoned in the first place. When Miles was born, the town began to slowly wither away, and as a young Mia and Riley visited the Shelby Oaks amusement park, their connection to whatever entity was attached to Miles began to draw an interest into them both. The disappearance of Riley's night terrors lines up with the timeline of Miles being put in prison, which the deterioration of that jail supports Mia's theories that his presence is what caused all the paranormal activity in the town and with her sister. And of course, when he was released from prison, Riley then disappeared. The prison and amusement park sequences in the middle of this film is where the movie began to slip away from me just a bit. The prison sequence is pretty solid. I actually really like this sequence. I think it is filmed beautifully by the cinematographer, and there's a lot of great build up to these scares we get to see here. But the back of my mind had me screaming at Mia to get out of there as soon as possible, as going through this place completely alone is entirely insane. And the park sequence felt extremely similar to what we just saw at the prison, so the repetitive nature of some of these scares between the demon hounds and this entity became a bit more noticeable. But then we get to Norma, and let me just say that she felt ripped straight out of an M. Night Shyamalan movie, and yes, this is a big compliment. She honestly felt like Yoda in Empire Strikes Back as well. She's very weird and giggly and finds offering Mia some crackers very funny. The way she moves is quite unsettling, and she had me laughing in nervousness the entire time. And when Mia sees that she is the mother of Miles and that Riley has been forced to have his children over and over again until one survived, the quirkiness of this scene, like Yoda in Empire Strikes Back when Luke figures out that this is the Jedi Master, this dynamic quickly turns from one thing to a completely other thing. In this case, it quickly shifts into horror along with Norma's mannerisms. And honestly, bravo to Robin Bartlett in this role. She clearly had a ton of fun playing this character, and it gave this movie a really fun tone to mix together with the scares and intrigue. And yes, when I say that she felt ripped straight out of a Shyamalan movie, I do mean that one creepy random lady in The Happening, and yes, I swear this is a good thing.
I hear you whispering. Planning on stealing something?
No, ma'am, we're not.
Plan on murdering me in my sleep?
What? No.
But from here, we are really at a sprint to the finish line. Mia and Riley are reunited, but Riley's need to get her baby stalls their escape. And what you think at first is her attempting to save her baby is later revealed to her wanting to kill it instead. Norma does her demon witchcraft to stop Riley and is able to finish the ritual she was performing on this child. And this entire time, Mia just kind of stands by and never attempts to stop Norma, which I guess is fair. She doesn't know exactly what is going on, and she is more concerned about her sister, but it felt a little bit odd, especially since this woman is clearly doing something to this baby. I don't know, maybe try to save the baby, especially with how much she wanted to have a child. And also, don't get me started on her making a point to grab a knife only to leave it on the floor 2 seconds later. Norma dies after performing this ritual of hers, and we get the classic early 2000s fake out happy ending, which is a trope that is always hit or miss for me. And with this ending, I think it's a little bit more miss than hit, but just a little. I like the idea that the entity has not just wanted Riley, but has also wanted Mia this whole time. It used Riley to give birth to a new child that will take the place of Miles, as Mia was not able to have kids, and once Riley is accidentally thrown out the window, which I believe was actually foreshadowed by the crack in the glass, Mia, who has always wanted a baby, has now become the new Norma. And I think this works on paper. The right idea is there, but I think it needed some more time to fully resonate. The main flaw I have with this film, which I have seen others echo the same sentiments, is how the decisions Mia makes along the way feel a bit odd and at times frustrating. And this is where I'll loop back into the shoestring budget for this film. This movie was written to be made for very little money. Some of the Kickstarter Kickstarter goals for this movie were for the practical effects, the locations, namely the prison used in the Shawshank Redemption, getting Keith David into the cast, extra shooting days, and an animal wrangler. So just imagine if they didn't have that amount of money to work with that they campaigned so incredibly hard for. And that campaign amount that they made was so much more than what they were anticipating. So just imagine what this film would have looked like if they didn't get the funding. So because of this, I think that Mia's journey in this film was always going to be solely on her own, but if the film had more of a backing when it was first conceived, I think that we would have actually had a lot more Roberts inside of this film, that we would have had more of a substantial showcase of the larger ensemble cast, that we would have spent a bit more time on the film's ending, which does admittedly feel a bit rushed. Even having Robert go along with her through the prison sequence would have helped a lot, and maybe after that he could have just, backed away at that point in the story, but for the money that they had, I think that the way they handled Mia's journey was believable enough. Even if her going into that house, or dropping that knife, or just standing there when the witch was doing her thing at the end of the film had you screaming at the screen, which, I mean, hell, that's part of the fun in watching a horror movie. I've heard people use the analogy that this movie is like Hereditary meets the Blair Witch Project, and honestly, I think that the connection works on a story and stylistic manner, along with a budgetary one. Hereditary was made for $15 million, and Blair Witch was made for a mere $60,000, which is still crazy to me. So $2 million for this film is a nice middle ground between the two. And I think that the movie looks like it costs a lot more than it does, but it didn't quite have the resources to pull off what Ari Aster was able to do with his debut feature. But when you compare this to other films of its budget, like Terrifier 3, Late Night with the Devil, Censor, the first Insidious movie, and the first Saw movie, I think this movie accomplished just as much, if not more, than some of those films. And the last thing I want to talk about with this film, which I've saved for the very end of this video, is how I'm one of those 14,000 backers who helped fund this movie. See, look at this. Here's my name on the poster with all the Kickstarter supporters. Right? It's right in the E. A large reason as to why I have this channel in the first place is me being a longtime fan of Chris Stuckmann, and as a fan of his, someone who has seen his journey from making Hilariosity reviews to reviewing his own home movies as a kid, which are must-watch videos, by the way, to him coming out as an ex Jehovah's Witness, which is another must-watch video of his, to him making, his first few short films, to eventually getting to the funding for his first official feature film. I do feel a sense of pride in Stuckmann as a filmmaker because of all this, and I feel incredibly inspired by his work here. And so yeah, as much as I love the first half of this film and feel a bit more rocky on that second half, I am more than happy to see this film get a theatrical release, to be given a chance to be successful in the theatrical market, and I really hope it does. So again, when it comes to independent films, whether it's horror or drama or comedy or whatever it is, try to seek them out in theaters, because that is why we get interesting voices in film like Stuckmann's. And I, for one, can't wait to see what he does next, hopefully with a bit more budget to back his ideas in the next attempt. And before I'm accused of being a biased shill for being a fan of Stuckmann's, which, I mean, I had a lot to say about this film's flaws, but that's neither here nor there, I went to watch this movie with a friend of mine who had no idea who Chris Stuckmann was, and the first thing that he said to me when the credits began to roll was, yeah, Stuckmann cooked. And frankly, I think he liked the movie more than I did. So if you don't take my word for it, take his.
Riley. Please, baby. Hear me.
But those are just going to be my thoughts on Chris Stuckmann's Shelby Oaks. Did this live up to the hype of a movie critic making his own movie, or are you going to CinemaSins the shit out of this film in the comment section down below? Either way, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and as always, if you enjoyed this review, make sure to leave it a like and subscribe to the channel to see more videos just like this. And like I mentioned at the top of this review, I'm also sponsoring myself for this video with my new short film based on a true nightmare. I filmed that at the beginning of the month with a group of friends, and I had a ton of fun making it. Hell, this Shelby Oaks poster made a cameo in that film, along with my own attempt at that TV reflection shot, which, let's just say I didn't quite have the resources to fully pull that off. But either way, I can't wait to show it to all of you, but it's not quite ready just yet. However, I did cut together a little trailer for all of you, so thanks everybody for watching this video, and I hope to see you all in my next one. Please enjoy this teaser for Based on a True Nightmare.
It has been a month since the true crime phenomenon has taken the world by storm. The Todd Creek killer has claimed many victims on his treks through the western United States, but it was the discovery of a lone survivor that has captivated millions. Many are now turning to this lone survivor for the answers to the questions on everyone's minds. How did he get away? What could he have seen? Could he have...
Huge fan, by the way. Well, fan's probably not the right word to use.